Take a listen at the Burkinabe President Captain Ibrahim Traore speak on the cautionary messages that he sent to Niger's former President Mohamed Bazoum, months before he was overthrown from office, as well as Burkina Faso's current relationship with Ivory Coast and France. Mr. President, we are now going to talk about diplomacy. How is the cooperation going with the neighboring countries of Burkina? We have already talked about the AES, but with the other countries neighboring Burkina, how is the cooperation going? Well, it must be said, it goes more or less with certain countries. There is no problem, with others too. We must not hide. We cannot continue to be hypocritical. There are problems with certain countries, so that must be recognized. And we are on this, and we hope that everyone will understand, because at the beginning, we had a few problems. In October and November 2022, I will tell you clearly, we were approached by many emissaries, particularly from southern countries. Each time, it was perhaps telling us to somehow negotiate with the terrorists. Because they wanted a corridor, they just wanted to carry out the trafficking, but that meant leaving a portion of the land. That's it, and we told them to leave us alone. We said that it was not possible, because we are Burkinabes, we prefer to die with dignity, than to negotiate the conditions of our slavery. Negotiating with these people is negotiating the conditions of your slavery. So I understood the mentality of some, and I advised many that it was not a good idea to negotiate. But hey, we knew what was happening, things were happening in Niamey at the time, there you have it. Between President Bazoum, who was the center, and the terrorists, there were certain external agents, and then the messengers came towards us. I even sent messengers to President Bazoum in his time, who unfortunately did not receive the mission well, because he could not even give me a report, meaning it was a failure. We understood that there is a machine at work, and so we decided to fight. We categorically refused to negotiate with anyone, said we will fight. And these people who we advised not to follow this path, I think that today, many realized that we were right, because they began to be attacked. There is no possibility of negotiating with these people, so we have to get serious about fighting. Recently, you saw through the report, when the units arrived at Operation Wergen on the Ivorian border. I followed the operation closely, and even congratulated the soldiers for their discipline, because they did not have to stop and watch the terrorists 50 meters from them, across the river, they could send rockets, just as they said. But out of discipline, and respect for instructions, they observed and then they turned around. But these are behaviors that are not good, it must be said, because Burkina has experienced this too, they lived here. We were a terrorists' rear base, what did it give? So these countries also need to understand that it doesn't work. And there are many other things with which I think we are starting to understand each other, but on the Ivory Coast side, there is development to be done. That's it, they have to come back to better feelings. All the destabilizers of Burkina are there, don't hide. Ivorian officials spoke badly of Burkina. On TV sets, you are a journalist, I don't think that in Burkina, a private channel insults the authorities of other countries openly, often in a vulgar way. It happens there, without saying a word, that's one of those who try to destabilize those who find themselves there. Well, at some point, we have to stop the hypocrisy, we have to tell the truth, there is a problem with the authorities in this country. Exactly today, Mr. President, what are your relations with President Alassane Ouattara? The report is, as I said, there is a problem. We don't have any particular contact, so there you go, we look at the situation, we follow it, I can't give you any more details, there you go, we follow it. That means, right after that, you did not have the opportunity to discuss with President Alassane Ouattara. At first, we talked a little on the phone, he even sent emissaries to me, it must be recognized. We talked, we hoped things would go in the right direction, but maybe we didn't access certain things, I don't know. but we can't fit ourselves into a certain mold. There we are, we came with a vision, a goal, and we have a mission. So as long as we are in our mold, we know that we will have difficulties with some people, so we don't know what happened, otherwise there was contact, but it's broken down. And with people who started to go there, what we are looking for there has always been cooperation, and until today, it is that we are observing. Today, there were incidents on the border with Ivory Coast. We are therefore talking about Burkinabe soldiers who are detained by the Ivorian side and vice versa. So, what is the situation in this regard? It's a few minor incidents. That's not a problem for us. Remember that we are at war. So these are not incidents in our eyes. You may not understand what I said, but we went to war and we prepared for anything. So these are not incidents, they are minor. But you confirm that there are soldiers detained on both sides. Yes, the last time during the operation, there was a soldier and then a VDP that the Ivorian forces apprehended and took to Abidjan. Before that, there were 2 Ivorian gendarmes who had made an incursion, but there were several incursions. I think that the last time of the meeting, they brought them in, they filed them with all the names. There have been more than 20 times when Ivorian forces have re-entered the territory, but we have never taken custody, but both were a special case, that's why we took it as a matter of information. And during the operation of the 15th battle, 2 of our soldiers went to buy cigarettes, I believe in a curiously inhabited village, 2 kilometers from the border, and the Ivorian forces took them. But I am curious to see that they were present, and they were able to apprehend the 2 soldiers, yet they did not react when all these terrorists entered their country. So, it's an isolated incident, we continue the fight. So, Mr. President, will the recent meeting between the ministers in charge of defense of the 2 countries perhaps help to defuse the situation? We hope, but I would say the ball is in their court. So they wanted the meeting, we didn't refuse. It went well, they had discussions, we are watching them now. There are people who are being pursued, who are there. There are people who are going to be prosecuted. They nevertheless had frank exchanges, and we're looking at them now. Mr. President, another diplomatic incident, if I can say so, 3 French personalities declared person non grata on Burkinabe territory for subversive activity. What are we actually criticizing these 3 French people for? You know, when we say subversive activity, people are very smart and very intelligent in their maneuver. Today, they have a lot of plans to destabilize Burkina. There is physical elimination, perhaps the manipulation of an armed fringe. There is also through the media, and the diplomacy of countries plays a part. So, it's telling people even through this, to be very careful of certain organizations which are here, which are financed by certain countries. Why? Because they're not here because of your beautiful eyes, but to give you money, and then ask you for reports in a certain format, and you do it. They are in the process of penetrating the world of culture. We follow them. Here are some artists, so on and so forth. We follow everything. They are in the process of penetrating the world of media. We follow, so that you can connect what they want you to do. I said earlier, so there's a lot of subversive activity going on. So we are not fooled, and people need to stop because wanting to manipulate the people to turn them around, they need to stop that. It will be difficult and we will not have our tongues in our pockets. When the time comes, we will also explain to the people what happened to them. Currently, it is the art of manipulation. All their hope is to be able to manipulate the population, to lower the fervor, so that the people do not support the transition, and so that they can achieve their goal. And we're going to fight this. So what assessment do you make of the recent comments made by French General Lecointre? Yes, we followed, and they are preparing the mentality of their people, in case they have to intervene, or physically come here to fight us. So, they started preparing, and it's not now. Last year, President Macron made certain comments. I expected the journalists to debate this, to shed light on the Burkinabes, to educate the Burkinabes, because journalism is not just about criticizing the government, or giving information on what is not right. You're lucky enough to be a journalist in wartime. We must participate in educating the people, in awakening the people, because we have an enemy. It is those who want to reduce us to slavery. It is your role to do so. This general has made his exit. I don't know, and until today people have had sufficiently detailed debates to explain to the population what the objective of imperialism is. They do not agree that we decolonize, they want to recolonize us. Terrorism is there, they know that we will defeat terrorism, so they are now saying, if we ever manage to defeat terrorism, they must prepare to physically come and recolonize us, because they do not agree that we should be decolonized, because that is their interests. It is through us that they live. So that's it too. Journalists need to be involved in this. Now, the debates are not about that. Whether we like it or not, we are at war. We must sing the praises of our soldiers. We must sing the praises of our heroes. We must support them, and we must explain to the people what imperialism is, how they want to colonize us, how they want to keep us in misery, so that they can live, so that the people can wake up. We are not here to put the people to sleep and pillage or do what we did. We want the people to wake up, to understand who their enemies are, and that's the work of journalism too. In these times of war, the history of Burkina is now being written. So, I beg you, we have to do some work, because they are preparing the opinion of their people in case they have to intervene, and somewhat accompanying them will be words like, that's normal, we have to colonize them. What they are saying is a lie. It's a lie, but the objective is known, and there is no problem for us too, we prepare accordingly.